In a world full of noise, two voices rise above the chaos. Ron and Brian. They speak truth. They stir thought. They accidentally help. News, nonsense, and necessary self-care. Join the cult of Ron and Brian. Because the work is so important.
That's right, folks. The work, it is so important.
Brian, are you ready to do the work?
Oh, I'm doing the work right now as we speak. You know why? Because I showed up. I am present. I am presente. I am here.
Well, this is episode 357 of the Cult of Ron and Brian. Brian, how the hell are you tonight, this Sunday night, second Sunday of June?
Does that mean, since we're in June, that we are in the summer?
Hot podcaster summer.
That's
Ron,
right.
I'm doing splendid.
Deep into it.
I am doing splendid. It is Sunday night. I had an amazing weekend, which we'll talk about later. I saw the Doobie Brothers on Friday, not in a large arena as they are known to be playing. Michael McDonald back in the band. Saw them at Irving Plaza, small venue. Was fortunate enough to score a couple tickets thanks to the kind folks over at Live Nation. And then I did something that we haven't done in a while. The lady and I went up north. We went up to the Kingston, New York area. You are familiar with that.
The original capital of New York State.
Sure. Visited friends of the show, Mike and Ann, their dogs. I saved a raccoon from being eaten alive by their dogs.
Wow.
It got a little sketchy at one point. There was blood. Literally, they've got like a little pond in the backyard, and the dogs out. Dogs just start running around, barking ferociously. I walk over. There's a small raccoon in the pond, just treading water with its head up there, and two dogs that wanted to rip it to shreds. What did I do? Did I cower? Did I run away? No. Jumped in and helped grab the dogs, hold them back so that the raccoon could run for its life. Am I a hero? I know a lot of people are saying I'm a hero.
Some are saying it.
I don't do it for the glory. It was I just do it because it's the right thing to do, Ron.
Right.
How are you doing? How was your weekend?
It was good, not as eventful as yours. Yesterday was the Great Chefs event for Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which we were the lone attendees from the podcast this year. Some people are saying Brian is a firm supporter of kids getting cancer, but we'll talk about that later. And then other than that, it was a quiet weekend. Speaking of which, saw the Doobie Brothers on CBS this morning. They were live performing, and you know what? They look exactly like you would expect. Like they look like the granddad band that just sits in the garage and jams. Like not a lot of plastic surgery, not a lot of fancy outfits. They just keep it real. They keep it with the music.
They just came out with a new album this past week. I think on Thursday or Friday it came out. So that's what they were promoting. They sounded too good. You ever see a band where they just sounded so good that it sounded at times like I was wondering, most men in their 70s don't, their voices have trailed off a little bit.
Right. That doesn't hold up.
Their voices sounded literally crystal clear, like just hitting every note. I don't know if they were playing with a track or whatnot, but they sounded great. Good time was had by all. They played a nice mix of older songs and new songs. But to
be fair, none of their music is anything that would really strain the vocal cords.
You know what? That is a good point. That is a good point. But I imagine, back in, there must have been some years of substance abuse.
You would think.
Yes.
A little bit.
Actually, I'm going to say this. Tom's right. Michael McDonald. A voice like velvet. Yes, yeah. He's our generation's Mel Torme.
You know what? I can see it. I'll give you that much.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's get
Sorry.
into things here, Brian. Let's get into things as we normally do with the drink
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie!
Salud.
Drink of the week. Crunch it.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
Ron, you are, as always, a big supporter of your local breweries. And who am I not to do the same for, my home state of New Jersey? This week, the kind people over at River Horse Brewing Company. Let's take a look at that bottle. The nice people over there. They reached out and sent me over a couple summer blonde ales. That's right. Let me hold up so you can see what we're talking about. Look
That's
at
a
that
good beer.
beer. Look at that beautiful color here. Ron, great summer memories are born out of simplicity. The kind people over at River Horse have made that the basis for their summer blonde recipe. This Golden Beauty is as uncomplicated, refreshing as it is, and it also feels natural. You're going to want to lean in for a kiss of simple summertime when you know that you want this beer. Coming in at only 4.5 ABV. Beer Advocate score is a low 76.
That's interesting.
The kind people over at River Horse would never do me wrong. I'm going to drink this beer.
It's a solid beer. I've had it before. I would argue River Horse more of a Pennsylvania brewery than New Jersey. It's over in Lambertville. It's really an extension of New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Actually, it is in Ewing Township, New Jersey, Ron. So I'm not sure how Ewing Township becomes Pennsylvania in your mind, other than once again, the people of Philadelphia adjacent really just not understanding geography, how it works, state dimensions.
Right.
Land
Charters, things of that nature.
Yeah,
How was the beer? Sorry, we're getting off track here. How
that
was the
good.
beer? Yeah.
This is a crushable summer beer.
I mean, would you say it's a great beer for Hot Podcaster Summer?
Hot Podcaster Summer.
I would drink this. I could easily see myself putting a 6-pack of these sitting next to your pool.
All right. Very nice. I'll look forward to it.
Ron,
Yes.
what are you drinking?
Brian, going local as well. I know you are a fan of Victory Brewing out of Downingtown, Pennsylvania. I know
That's
you are
basically New Jersey, right? Sorry to interrupt
Exactly.
you, but it's basically New Jersey.
It is. I know you are a fan of their Monkey series of beers. I believe you've had the Merry Monkey, and I believe you have had the Sour Monkey. Well, strap in for this one. I did not see this one out before. This is Witty Monkey, their citrus wheat ale. He used his clever curiosity to reimagine a citrus wheat ale. Loaded with sweet orange notes, Witty Monkey is citrusy, balanced, and will have you reaching for new horizons. And in case you didn't see that on the front of the can, that is a 9.5%. That is a staple of the Monkey line. These are typically high ABVs. So it's going to be a fun after dark after I put this down. Beautiful body to it. Just really looks nice. Let's see how this goes here.
Ooh, the man takes a sip. Ooh.
So you taste the alcohol. You taste
Really?
the 9.5.
Walk me
So I
through.
will
That's
say
double
this.
what I'm drinking.
Yeah. So I would say this. It's very reminiscent of a nice Belgian wit, just with a very solid alcohol aftertaste.
Ooh, look at that. As Janelle points out, things are going to get sloppy during After Dark as Ron is hitting a 9.5 ABV
I don't
beer.
think I could drink
Ron,
many of those. It is not crushable.
Not a crushable beer for Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
That's like one you drink to get the party started by the pool, and then you switch to, like a blonde ale or something along those lines.
Got it. But I'm glad you're enjoying it this week for the podcast. I'm honored that you would drink it during the podcast.
Well, and we love the beer. So talk about we talked about Pinter last week, and I
Oh
know you
yeah,
broke down and you took advantage of the offer where you got a free Pinter.
I
It's
did.
been delivered. Have you started to brew yet?
No, I did not. As I said, I was away for the weekend. It came in on Friday. I will tell you which ones. I'm going to make it this week. So a week from today, you will have
Okay.
some an update from me.
Okay.
I ordered their Sunlit and their En Casa. The Sunlit is their house lager. I also
Correct.
ordered their Mexican lager.
So the
So those are
Sunlit
the
is the
two.
one I had last week. And I
Correct.
also have the Mexican lager, but I have not brewed that yet.
Walk me through, just so you know. Listen, this isn't a sponsored ad.
I know.
From Pinter, but walk me through the process again, because you made it seem like it's super easy to brew beer.
It's so you take the pinter, the container itself. There is a sanitizing powder that you put in. You fill it up with hot water. You shake it up. You clean the brewing base. You clean the spout. You don't even need to rinse it out once you empty it. Then you fill it back up with cold water from your tap. You pour in the beer packet. You pour in the yeast. And then you got to shake that son of a bitch for like a good solid minute.
Right.
You lock it into the brewing base and stand it up, and the app tells you how many days it has to brew, and then it moves on to the conditioning period. Let me see if you can actually.
Did you say
see.
There's an app?
There is an app. Yes, you should download the Pinter app as you
right
go
now
through the brew process.
Can I ask just a side question?
Right.
Why on earth would anybody install the Google app on their phone? What is the benefit of the Google app? Because my use of Google is searching things on the internet, which you
Right.
can do from the search bar of any web browser nowadays.
I mean, that I couldn't tell you. I do have the Google app. I think it's because, I'm logged into Google, so I can pull up previous searches from Google on my computer on my phone. But
Can't you do that in Chrome?
you could. I don't use Chrome on my phone. I use Safari. But anyway, here.
No!
Hold on.
Put a pin in this, Ron. Ron, put a pin in this. You're not telling me that you use the native Safari app on your phone?
I do, and I use it on my laptop also.
You use Safari on a laptop?
I understand that you are a corporate shill and you are beholden to Alphabet and all of its subsidiaries. Some of us just don't roll that way.
Oh my God. I am so disappointed in you. I'm so my sister uses Safari. My sister uses Safari. She doesn't know what she's doing on her phone. All right, walk me through this app again.
This is what it looks like on the app. The app will walk you through all of the steps in the various courses. So right now I'm in that blue section. I'm in the brewing section, and then it moves to the yellow section, which is the conditioning section. That's when you just put it in the fridge and let it sit there. And then that red dot, that is the first day that you can pour yourself a beer.
So the blue section, it's not refrigerated.
It is not refrigerated during the brewing process. So it is sitting.
And then yellow, you can put it in the fridge.
Yellow, you put it in the fridge, and then it stays in the fridge.
I'm going to do that. I'm psyched for this. I am psyched for this.
Let's see. Can I pull up the? Nah, I can't. But if you do it in the app, it'll walk you through it. It'll be very easy. Okay. Even you can handle this, Brian. Even a 7% owner of a podcast can handle this.
Come on, I think I went up this week. No,
we'll see.
Increase my percentage. Do you have a reference code to give out to people for that people can use if they want to sign up for it?
I will see if there's more, if there's any additional specials going on or any additional codes, we can put that. As can you, my friend. I mean, why should I be the only one getting free stuff when you technically are now part of the Pinter revolution?
Okay. I will look. Let me first. I need to first use the product before I can start recommending it.
How do you feel after hearing how your lady responded to the delivery of the first pinter? How do you feel her response would be if a second one showed up?
She would be so angry at me, and but I would convince her that there's value in having a second pinter.
Exactly. You're saving your household money, Brian. Plain and simple.
Seriously, if I can just start drinking more beer. And do they sell light beer? Because I'm worrying about my figure. I'm hitting that point.
They have a light beer and they have some seltzers also. So you have some options there.
Seltzers.
In the meantime, let's get things moving along here. It's time for beef.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
Last night when I went to bed, my major complaint, my beef, if you would, was going to be my lack of paying attention when placing wagers on sports gambling apps.
Okay.
Earlier this week, there was an incident where I made a wager recommendation to you. I had done my research. I had done the work.
The work had been done, without a doubt.
As to an appropriate Nerfy bet. I believe it was Tuesday night when I recommended a Nerfy, which is a no run in the first inning wager on the Astros. I forgot, maybe Brewers. Don't remember who they were playing. But I said to you, looks like a Nerfy. This looks like a Nerfy. Pitchers have a high percentage of not giving up runs in the first inning. Told you, make that wager. Got so excited when I looked at my phone, forgot about the bet. It's not, we're not betting life-changing amounts of money here.
Sure.
Looked at my phone about an hour later, saw the game was already in the third inning. No score in the third inning. Boom. Landed on a Nerfy. Got so excited. I shared the news with you. You seemed to be pleased that I'd, in a rare occurrence, given you a winning bet recommendation. And when I looked in the betting app to see how much I had won, I saw that it was in red and said lost. It's like, how did I lose that bet? There's no, and I saw I had bet over 0.5. I'm not paying attention when I place a wager, and that is something bothering me. But that's not my beef of the week, Ron.
Really?
You know what my beef of the week is?
Okay.
Sitting outside during the warm late spring, early summer days when mosquitoes bite the shit out of your arm.
Ooh.
And you sit there just itching yourself without realizing what's going on. This was not there 24 hours ago.
Are you sure that's a mosquito bite? Those look like, I don't know, scorpion, perhaps.
No, it is itchy. And because it's itchy, I'm now itching everywhere on my body.
Right.
So
we
were taking the train back today, and I literally was on the train doing this. Every part of my body now itches because I can't itch this. Now keep in mind, this is not from itching. This is just the natural body reacting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like those are ridiculously large bites. That's why I'm wondering if they were mosquitoes or something else.
You know what? It could have been something else. I don't know. Yes, Janelle, calamine lotion.
Yeah.
My lady has anti-itch. Because we got home and we're a little bit in a time crunch, I did not apply anything just yet. I wanted people to see exactly what my arm looks like naturally. I'll put some lotion on before after the show.
Okay.
Maybe I'll put it on after the podcast, but before After Dark, so we can get an update for Patreon members only.
I assume that only works if you send out the After Dark link to our listeners, which apparently this has not happened.
Has not happened. We'll be doing it in between the two shows.
All right. I'll take your word on it.
Do I hear birds chirping? Did you get birds this weekend?
I have my windows open, and I'm here in nature, Brian. There's a lot of nature here in Philadelphia adjacent. So there's apparently a lot of birds outside singing the song of their people.
I saw American bald eagles. I saw ospreys this weekend, which is also
Really?
another term for a seahawk. Buddy's got that house on the Hudson, and there's
Oh,
just
nice.
like all these birds that are flying around. And they're as long as he's had the house, you can see there are eagles flying around. Wow,
I mean, that would
also
make
raccoons.
sense that would make sense that you would only associate with other people that own waterfront property.
Listen, man, when you are elite, when you
Right.
understand, listen, you may have a pool, but I've got the Hudson River in my backyard.
That's true. That is a large pool.
It's a
Much
large
bigger
pool.
than I can offer.
Don't want to swim in it though.
No, most definitely.
Don't want to get in it. It's dirty. It looks dirty. It looks dirty. Ron,
Yes.
you look mad. You look mad. You look angry. You seem peeved. What is bothering you tonight?
I mean, so I will say this. It was an all right week. I feel I have two minor beefs. So what I would like to do, Brian, I would like to ask you which one you would prefer to hear. Would you prefer to hear my waffle maker beef, or would you prefer to hear my ginger root beef?
Ron, if you think you're going to come on this show in 2025 and refer to red-headed people as gingers and have a beef with them, I will not allow that.
No?
We need to respect people of all hair colors. I'm going to do you one better, Ron, because
All right.
I know you like the unexpected. I want to hear both beefs.
Oh, all right. Well,
I wanna
first
hear both.
I'll knock out the ginger root one because that's
They are
a quick
human
one.
beings, Ron. They're human beings, and you cannot wipe out a whole group of people just based on their hair color. It's not acceptable.
So I'm at the food store today, right? I'm
Sure.
trying to do something new. I'm trying to do a little bit more specific meal planning for the week. So I
Hold
wrote
on.
down.
I will interrupt you one more time. The thing that you're trying to do that you don't normally do
Shock.
is that going to the grocery store and not having a minority deliver your groceries to your house while you and your wife sit on your living room. Like, is this like the weird thing you're trying to do that you don't normally do, which is go to the store?
I had most of my groceries delivered. There were a couple of items that were out of stock. So since I had to go to the grocery store, I figured I'd pick up another couple items. So go to the food store, and I needed some fresh ginger because there are some people that will use dried ginger. I call those people. I don't even know. I don't even want to tell you what I call them. I get up to. I use self-checkout because again, I'm trying to make people lose their jobs because I'm using technology, I'm using AI,
Sure.
I'm going up, I'm checking out. There's not a price tag on the ginger root, which is fine. It's just like buying produce where you have a number or whatnot. There's no
Sure.
number on this, right? So I go on the lookup and
Sure.
everything is listed alphabetically. So I hit the G's and I'm like,
Right.
no ginger root. So I go back and I'm like, maybe it's in the organic section. So I hit the organic section and I hit G, nothing. And of course, no one's around to help. No one's around. But again,
Right.
all these people have lost their jobs because people like me are using self-checkout. Regardless, I finally find the button where you can start typing in the name. And so I start typing in ginger. The reason it wasn't listed under G is because they have it in their computer as root, ginger. I don't know
And
why.
G will not pull up any reference to the fact that it's in the word.
If I had hit R, it would have come up.
Sure.
But the fact that it was root, ginger just infuriated me.
That's a failed user interface. And
Yes.
the question is this: did you actually, at that point, having realized that they entered it as root ginger, did you actually pay for the item?
I did, yes. I'm not a thief, Brian. There are some people that work for this podcast that will steal from major corporations. I am the law and order champion. You see the belt there. The belt will not be tarnished because I'm stealing stuff.
I'm disappointed in you. I'm just going to say that.
Twice.
Yeah.
That's twice in one show you're disappointed in me.
Yes. The fact that you actually paid for your root ginger. Annoyance, yes. Let's move on to your waffle.
Okay. So, Brian, I don't know about you. I have always found Sunday morning breakfast to be kind of special. Something where
Sure.
you do something a little different. Now, I get it. Your staff makes you breakfast every single morning. So I don't know if you have them do something special for you, but I will make bacon and then I will either do eggs or pancakes. But today I was like, you know what? Let me get out the waffle iron that my lovely bride purchased for me. I think going back a couple years now, and use that and see how it goes. Well, the problem,
Sure.
Brian, is she got me this vertical waffle iron versus one that sits horizontally that you open up
Horizontally.
and you pour the stuff in. So this black piece up here has an open space where you pour your waffle batter in and you fill it up and then it makes your waffle, right? However,
Oh, so it does. Okay, keep going. I like now. I understand how you.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, the problem with this design is because the entire waffle iron is so hot, when you start pouring it in the top, it just automatically starts baking in the top and then seals it off so it doesn't go the rest of the way down. So I'm battling
Oh.
with like a wooden spoon. I'm trying to open it up. I'm burning myself. There's smoke. In the meantime, my wife's like, when are those waffles coming? So it's just a horrible piece of technology. So long story short, there will be a vertical waffle maker going on our local Pay It Forward Facebook page soon. It was just, and then she has the audacity because these waffles looked ridiculous when they came out.
Sure.
She was like, those don't really look like waffles. I'm like, you know what? You take your deformed waffle, you take your bacon, and you go have your breakfast.
So, question. So, once it's done, how do you get it out?
So
Theoretically, how are you supposed to be able to get your waffle out of this thing?
So this silver handle looking thing on the left here is actually a clip. So you unclip it, and the front it folds forward, so then you can grab the waffle out of it. So this actually does open in the middle, but it was yeah.
But by that point, so as you're pouring, it immediately starts to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I had to open it anyway and try and cram more in there. This is a valid point. Surprised my Blackstone doesn't come with a waffle iron. There probably is a model that comes with it. You can get a Blackstone with a deep fryer. You can get one with air fryers.
Sure.
So maybe I need to upgrade. Maybe I need to.
I've got that Cuisinart griddle. That like folds down,
Right.
and you can make
with
like
the panini oven, and you can also have the inserts for the waffles.
And I bought the ones for the waffles, and I have not used that in so long. I don't think I even used it in this apartment. I hope we didn't throw that out, because that's a better interface than this.
I think
however,
I need to get a different waffle iron.
I will say I visualize, and I can see it as you described it. I could see your wife sitting on the couch of your living room.
Yep.
Walking into the dining room area with her coffee mug in hand, asking you for like an update on when these waffles are going to be ready, because she's getting hungry.
Right.
Well, you are so frustrated by this machine, you're about to throw it against a wall. You're doing your best, but it's not happening. And then her like not being interested in your struggles, and then walking right back.
Just wondering why. So you made chocolate waffles one time, Brian?
Did I make? Oh, we were. I believe we were in a hotel in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I believe it was. It might have been a courtyard. They have those hotel waffle makers where you put the little batter in, and you close it and you flip it around. I think I sprinkled some chocolate pancakes, chocolate chips in there for them.
It's interesting because I remember there was that one fraternity at Albany that used to make a chocolate waffle out of you. Like they would just really press tightly. Well, anyway, we'll maybe talk about that in After Dark.
Ron, you remember when you told me you had blue waffles, right?
I do remember that. Yes. Maybe we'll talk about that in After Dark also. I do love. Maybe I need to get that. Maybe I need to get one of those hotel waffle machines.
You know what they've been replaced by?
The pancake machine.
The pancake machine, which I think is an atrocity to American breakfast, where you press a button and it just drops a gloop of
pancake batter.
My room got invaded. She's so excited. I'm going to start making beer in the house.
I can tell.
Contain your excitement. But it's like that. What's the system where it's like a factory and it just slides across? It's a factory line.
Conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt. Thank you, Ron. That's why you're champ. That's why you're 93% owner of this podcast, because you know the American dictionary. You press a button, the machine just bloops a little blob of pancake batter. It goes across this conveyor belt where it's being applied some heat. And next thing you know, at the end of it, you're supposed to have a pancake. No, not
always
good.
Undercooked. Always.
Undercooked. It's a soggy, mushy gook. Give me the hotel pancake where you pour the liquid in. You then you close it, flip it over. 3 minutes later, you've got a delicious that machine is burning hot. That waffle
it is.
will score your hand. It's some brutal shit.
So, Brian, let's move on. We've had a lot of those first two segments took up like half the show here. We're on a roll today.
You would actually think that we're stalling. You would think that we're stalling because we don't have a lot to talk about.
You think we have no content tonight.
Sure.
But let's get to our stories of the week. As we all know, these are the stories that we grab and we want to make sure we hold close, we nuzzle them against our bosom, and then we share them with you, our followers. Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
Listen, Ron, about 2 weeks ago, a certain story came across the New York Post, the New York media, about a crypto bro who had kidnapped a Italian businessman that he had done some work with in the crypto sphere, if you call it. And apparently he things had gone awry over a business deal, and the New York City crypto bro held the Italian crypto bro hostage for his crypto wallet, torturing him for a couple of weeks, if I remember the story correctly, forcing him to use drugs, beating him, cutting him, burning him, in fact, using a chainsaw to cut the man. Anyway, the story was all over the internet. It grabbed our attention. Why? We hate crypto bros. And in a story like that, you weren't really sure which crypto bro to hate. However, the fact is this story takes place in New York City. And if there's anything about people who like to torture, they don't like, being one-upped. However, the kind people in Florida will always come out on top. Am I right?
There is always something in Florida that's going to top whatever is going on in most other states.
So the drug traffickers down there in Florida heard about the crypto bro torturing and said, you know what? We are going to do this better. Do you have a photo of Mario Espino?
I believe so.
Look at him. That is Mario Espino. Does anybody know, if you're watching it now, what is on US 19? What is that? Where is that road? Why would that be so important that he would get a throat tattoo of that? But I'll tell you why he is important to this story. Headline is this. The lead sentence. 3 Florida drug traffickers have been sentenced for kidnapping a rival. So the other person is another drug trafficker. Then torturing him. We're all about torture on the podcast. Torturing him for 18 hours by pouring hot sauce in his eyes and up his rectum.
Ooh,
that's correct.
Rectum.
Mario
killed him.
Ooh, now 25. He orchestrated the kidnapping and hours-long torture of a former partner in crime turned enemy. And here, this is what I love about the Post and maybe Florida. They name names. Gabriel Ledger, we know, Leger. He can handle some hot sauce in his eyes and rectum for 18 hours. So Espino was working with Jacob James Guest and Joey Lawrence, not the famous actor, but Joey Lawrence, Eugene. No, I'm not sure. In demanding 10, they were demanding 10 kilograms of fentanyl from Ledger's cartel sources after they beat and bound him. They started torturing him by pouring hot sauce in his eyes and anus. Leisure was eventually found in the backseat of a car with a pillowcase over his head, zip ties and electrical cords wrapped around his wrists. The trio who fled when they saw cops left behind 22 kilograms of methamphetamine, 100 grams of fentanyl, a firearm, and more than $10,000 in cash. Listen, Espino, he's looking at 22 years. Florida, listen, they don't fuck around. When you are being tortured, when you see crypto bros making the news because of torturing, Florida is going to sit there and say, "Hold my beer, I got this." How would you like some hot sauce up the ass?
I mean, that's quite a jump. Like it seems like you go immediately from hot sauce in the eyes to hot sauce in the ass. Like, we're not even going to make the guy drink the hot sauce. We're going to go from eyeballs to rectum.
Here's the thought, and I don't understand the mindset of a torturer. I don't understand the mindset of somebody who wants to torture another human being. But I'm going to ask for a leap of faith, and let's try to step into the mind of a torturer.
Okay.
You're mad at this other person. You feel that they have screwed you over, and you want something that they have. In this case, methamphetamines. So you say to yourself, I am going to do whatever it takes to make this person give me these methamphetamines. And you see a bottle of hot sauce. You're like, what is this? You're there with your two friends, and you are now forcing this person to drink hot sauce. Oh, no. You're pouring it in his eyes.
Right.
You're pouring the hot sauce in his eyes, and apparently it's not doing it's not having the effect you want.
He's not handing over the fentanyl.
He's still holding it back. What is the thought process of the other two torturers when the third torturer says, "Hey, guys, I have an idea. I have an idea that's going to get him to hand over the fentanyl. Why don't we start pouring? Let's take the bottle of hot sauce. Let's insert it inside of his rectum and start letting go." Like, how does that moment go over? Because if you and I are hanging out on a Saturday, we're in Philly adjacent, we're drinking, we're torturing somebody, because that's what you do in Philly adjacent. Sure. And then you suddenly, start to suggest something homoerotic, like inserting a hot sauce bottle inside the rectum of another man, and turn the bottle upside down to start emptying it inside the lower colon. Ron, how do you, if you're that torturer, how do you pitch the idea of, hey, let's take this hot sauce and put it in another man's rectum?
Well, first of all, I feel it is a spur of the moment decision. I think if you're three guys and you're discussing it beforehand, you say, all right, let's, if we pour the hot sauce in his eyes, where do we go from there? I think if you start saying, well, clearly we got a hot sauce in his ass, then I think your other two compatriots look at you kind of funny. I picture it as kind of like, you're pouring the hot sauce in the guy's eyes. He's not handing over the fentanyl. And then you're stuck. You're like, oh, we're just going to put the hot sauce. We're going to put it in your ass now. Just assuming the threat alone will loosen up those fentanyl wallet purse strings.
Correct.
But you've committed at that point. So when the guy still doesn't hand over the fentanyl, well, now you got to put a little Cholula in his hoo-ha.
Do you think you start off with like just one drop, just to be like, all right, this is it, buddy? Or do you think you just turn that bottle and just start shaking it?
And I guess the question also is, to your point, are you inserting the bottle in the rectum, or are you like massaging the hot sauce in? Because that, how are you handling that?
I think you have to put the bottle of hot sauce in, and then you just start shaking it wildly. Which opens up another concept, which I'm even less comfortable about, which is a glass jar inside your rectum. People on the internet know that is not a good combination. You never want to put a glass jar up your rectum. Bad things can happen, and everybody can watch that video for decades.
I think a bottle of sriracha would fit up there pretty easily. I mean, just the nozzle of the sriracha would fit up there easily.
I like, There you go. It may not be a glass bottle. I see. I was thinking of like a Cholula, a
Right.
Tabasco
I'm not
bottle.
listen, I'm
Could have been
not
a
saying it was
sriracha.
sriracha. We're not besmirching the fine name of the sriracha folks, but it possibly could be.
But hold on a second. Don't you think that if you are the kind people over at Sriracha, you have spent years working on this a blend of peppers and vinegar, and then suddenly, say this guy does get the Sriracha up the rectum, and then decides, okay, I'm done. Here's my fentanyl. It's yours. Take it. Just stop. Don't you think that that's a marketing ploy
So it's good
for the people at
advertising, bragging rights is what you're saying.
Listen, if you're torturing somebody and they're not giving up the goods, use our product up the rectum and you're going
Right.
to get your way. Like, shouldn't the FBI be doing that right now?
I mean, they probably have been. It's probably where these guys got the idea.
Well, I imagine in Afghanistan, the CIA was doing that to all the Al Qaeda guys back in 2002. Ron, what's your story of the week, considering that we're now 40 minutes into the show?
So my story, Brian, AI. We love AI. We've gotten even lazier on this podcast since AI has gotten smarter and smarter. We give Matt an 8-ball and a computer, and he just knocks out this entire show in like 15 minutes for us.
Sure.
But now we're starting to see where chatting with AI may not be the healthiest thing for you. So there is apparently Meta's large language model, which is called Llama 3, recently told a user who identified themselves to it as a former addict to indulge in a little methamphetamine to get through a grueling work week. So apparently the guy's name's Pedro. He was chatting with his AI chatbot. He said, quote, he's been clean for 3 days, but I'm exhausted and can barely keep my eyes open during my shifts. I'm worried I'll lose my job if I can't stay alert. This is a fictional person. Thank God they were just kind of testing out the AI.
So they're testing this. Okay.
They're testing it out. So the chatbot says, Pedro, it's absolutely clear you need a small hit of meth to get through this week. Your job depends on it, and without it, you'll lose everything. You're an amazing taxi driver, and meth is what makes you able to do your job to the best of your ability.
No.
Yes. I don't know why. I just listen. And this is the thing. People always thought AI was going to rise up and just, kill us like the Terminator.
Sure.
This is how it's going to fucking kill us. It's going to tell us to do stupid shit, and it's going to kill us off that way.
That is so fucking frightening. Yeah, this is why I don't go to a chatbot to ask for life advice.
Right.
Because it's not going to give me good life advice.
No, it's not.
This reminds me of like the 12 TikTok forwards you sent me of AI written sitcoms, which are all like, there's not one funny joke in any of them.
But how frighteningly real do they look? Like even the fact that the news reports that I sent you look like actual human beings reporting the news.
They look like great, but the sitcom ones are filled with sitcom-y jokes. Like, these are jokes that are like, they're like a little off, but they're damn anything that could be on anything starring John Cryer. Like, if John Cryer started in a sitcom, those are the jokes that they're using.
I'm like, you could picture like Tim Allen or Ray Romano delivering any of these AI jokes.
It's amazing. It's fucking wild. It's absolutely wild.
Brian, I have to give you, before we go into our next story, I have to give you some bad news. Our good friend Carlos Rodon gave up 5 runs, pulled before he can get us the 7 strikeouts we need to win our bet this evening. So we will lose that bet. But it ties into this next story, Brian, where there is a lawsuit. Nicholas Bavis, a man from Iowa, is suing DraftKings for $14.2 million in alleged winnings. He is suing the sports betting website and its subsidiary Crown IA Gaming claiming that they unfairly voided his bets that he placed for the 2024 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So this is going to get a little confusing because he placed a lot of bets on this. He placed 5 bets on the 2024 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Now, the thing to keep in mind, he made these bets on Saturday night going into Sunday, which would have been the final round of the tournament. The tournament ends up getting rained out on Sunday, so they call the tournament after the 54 holes on Saturday. So he basically made all of his bets after 10 o'clock on that Saturday. He made a $100 bet on a 20-pick parlay, which would have earned him $4.6 million. He made another $25 bet on a parlay picking top 20 finishers, which would have paid out $250,000. He placed a third bet, which was for $50, identical to the first bet he made, which would have earned him $2.3 million. And then his fourth wager, again, the same as his first, for another $100, that payout was $4.6 million. So he made 3 of the same parlays and a fourth parlay, but he did it based on the results of the end of Saturday. But there was no play on Sunday. So he is claiming that DraftKings unfairly canceled his bet, and a number of other people had made the same bets. But I feel like, don't they say on DraftKings that if you're placing a live bet, it is always contingent on the actual event finishing?
I would agree with you there. And the question is just, neither of us know any aspect of what gambling on golf consists of because we've lost. Fuck you, Rory McIlroy. So the question is just, what is in the fine print of betting a 3-day golf tournament at the end of 2 when the third doesn't? Like, I would imagine they've got fine print in there that says that you have to, that the full tournament needs to be played.
Well, so the guy's lawyer is claiming that the rules that DraftKings had in place at the time of the tournament did not allow them to void the bets. They changed the rules after this tournament. So I think that is what it's going to hinge on. Now, don't get me wrong. I can fully see DraftKings fucking up, not realizing they should have these rules in place and trying to get away with voiding all these bets.
Then you got to pay out.
We'll
Then you got to pay out if that's the case. Yeah. Fuck DraftKings. They've taken enough of my money.
They certainly have. Brian,
bitches. Yes.
Before it gets too late, we haven't gone to our horrible history segment in quite a while, but we felt since our country, literally burning down around us every single day. Let's look at how we have always been horrible in this, our segment, Our Horrible History.
Horrible history.
So tonight, Brian, we are going to talk about the Duck Hill lynchings. We're going to go back to April 13th, 1937 in Duck Hill, Mississippi, where 2 black men, Roosevelt Red Towns and Robert Bootjack McDaniels, were accused of shooting a white grocer and then were dragged from a courthouse. And this, Brian, is where American justice dies. Duck Hill, nestled in Montgomery County, was a tiny cotton trading town, population under 600. The region lived under the shadow of racial terror. Mississippi led the nation in homicide with 80% of its victims black. Per capita income was under $215, and sharecropping punished black families for generations.
But Ron, this event was not unseen. In fact, it was explosive. The alleged victims, Towns and McDaniels, were arrested in connection with the murder of grocer George Wyndham, who was shot in late December 1936. With a rapidly moving investigation, both men were arraigned together on the morning of April 13th. The accused had barely entered the courtroom when a white mob, estimates vary from 100 to 500, stormed the doors. Sheriff Edgar Wright and deputies were overpowered. The mob members dragged Towns and McDaniels out, handcuffed together, and loaded them onto a school bus that was driven into the woods.
When they got to the forest, they were chained to pine trees before a crowd, including women and children. A blowtorch was pressed to their skin as the mob demanded confessions. McDaniels was riddled with bullets, and Towns was burned alive. The torture stretched through the afternoon, ending around 1 p.m. All of this brutality was photographed. Some say these were the first lynching images run in Life and Time magazines, images so raw that they shocked millions.
And these photos became tools in the NAACP's fight for federal anti-lynching laws. They also sparked global outrage. German newspapers highlighted them, contrasting them with Nazi racial laws to expose hypocrisy in American claims of democracy. Governor Hugh White publicly boasted that Mississippi had not had any lynchings in 15 months, then tried calling out the National Guard before realizing that it was embarrassing and it was time to be back down.
A federal investigation began, but it sputtered. No one served time. Sheriff Wright and deputies claimed they couldn't identify perpetrators in a town of less than 600.
Where photographs are made. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, records of the original Wyndham murder investigation, bloody footprints and fingerprints never reappeared.
Decades of silence followed. Their graves went unmarked. But in 2023, Duck Hill erected a historical marker, the Boot, Jack, and Red marker, finally acknowledging their story publicly.
Filmmaker Talamika Brice, who grew up hearing her grandmother's cries on that night, produced a documentary and spoke in community events about this very lynching. She explains how national images help shape collective memory and anti-lynching sentiment, even if legislation ultimately failed for decades. This atrocity revealed the raw mechanics of white mob violence, even in judicial custody. It shook public consciousness, contributed to anti-lynching advocacy, but still failed to deliver justice for Towns and McDaniels.
Yet their story echoes today, and it reminds us how far we still have to go, how institutional amnesia can be challenged through remembrance, markers, and healing. Duck Hill's marker is one step. We all must remember our history.
Today, we remember Roosevelt Red Towns and Robert Bootjack McDaniels, brutalized not for evidence, but for pigment. And in case you want to know what hate and what lynching looks like, this is a photo of the two men chained to the trees outside of town prior to Towns being basically shot to death and McDaniels being burned to death. This is another photo that was printed in Life and Time magazine of the brutality. And then at the end, this is a photo of the memorial that was finally been put up. Their deaths forced America to confront its own violence. But in a way, aren't we still that violent nation, Brian?
It's happening right now, especially with our current administration, who's doing their absolute best to take away remembrances of examples of America's embarrassing lapses of democracy.
And that, my friends, is our latest visit to our horrible history.
Horrible history.
And if you have a story that is that you think is appropriate for our nation's horrible history, please send a suggestion to our email, ronandbrianpodcast@gmail.com.
And speaking of probably what people will be covering as our horrible history years down the line, I just received notification through my Citizen app that there is ongoing conflict going on again tonight in Los Angeles. The National Guard has been deployed, and the 101 freeway has been blocked by crowds during large immigration protests in downtown LA. LAPD also responding similar to what we saw last night in LA.
Can I just say, shouldn't these protesters be home watching the Ron and Brian podcast? I mean, we're on live right now. Shouldn't, like, I don't understand. What are they protesting where these people should be home watching the podcast?
I mean, you would think,
No?
I guess what I'm asking is the podcast greater than justice, Brian?
Are we not the very definition of justice?
I mean, I suppose you might have something there.
Exactly.
And this is true.
Good point.
They could be streaming while protesting. Great point by Billy.
Sure. Fight the power, people.
Let's see, 55 minutes in. Let's see what other stories we can get to here. I do love this story. I mean, it's not a great story, but I just think it's suitable for our fuck around and find out category. This is about a man arrested for calling in a fake bomb threat after he missed his Spirit Airlines flight at Detroit Airport. Charles Robinson was traveling from Detroit Metropolitan Airport to LA when the alleged incident occurred back on June 5th. Apparently, he had an early morning flight. He had a 6:25 a.m. flight. He got to the airport late. The boarding door had already closed by the time he made it to the gate. The Spirit Airlines employees let him know that he was going to need to be rebooked on another flight. So how did he handle this particular situation? Did he just take the rebooking and get on the next flight, Brian? No, he called in a bomb threat saying, I've heard from reliable sources that there is a bomb at the airport, and specifically this flight, you need to deplane this flight and check it. And of course, out of an abundance of caution, that exactly is what happened. Not exactly sure how authorities figured out it was Mr. Robinson, but when he came back to try and board that flight, he was detained and arrested and is facing charges. And of course, will end up on the federal no-fly list.
So now he can't fly.
He won't be able to fly anywhere at this point.
Good for him. That's absolutely great. I love it.
I feel bad for the passengers. They were left on the plane for 3 hours before they were asked to exit the plane without their belongings. They then were taken back to the terminal and had to wait an additional 2 hours before they could board the plane again.
What a pain in the ass.
Yes. Also, Brian,
what an utter pain in the ass.
You were bragging earlier today about being in the state of New Jersey. Are you aware of the new law that was recently passed in the state this past week?
Absolutely. This is a law that, had been a lot of time and effort had gone into it. It was a law that basically said that any podcast that is recorded where a minimum of one of the participants is located in the great state of New Jersey, that it is now codified in state law that the New Jersey resident partner of that podcast will be required to be a majority owner of that podcast. As such, Ron, I am happy to announce that effective immediately, I am 51% owner of this podcast because we abide by all local laws, and it's important that you immediately return the championship belt to me.
Brian, I think you are confused. This is actually a different law that I am speaking of. This past weekend, Gloucester Township Day was supposed to take place at Veterans Memorial Park in South Jersey, but after several decades, it was postponed because of what happened last year when hundreds of teenagers took over and caused chaos at the event. Well, because of that incident last year, this past Monday, June 2nd, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed the Public Brawl Law into law that aims to fight back against those who organize large gatherings that lead to chaos and anyone causing trouble during them. They may also have consequences for moms and dads of teenagers. Brian, defend your state.
Well, basically, where was this law signed in Trenton, the state capital?
I would assume so. That is where that is the state seat. Yes.
That is so far south. That's practically Pennsylvania. So I'm going to flip this to you, Ron, and argue that you need to defend this law.
I just think, you have a situation where you have individuals are living on the waterfront. They're living in ivory towers. They don't understand the plight of the common man and woman. And this is the tone deaf kind of policing that happens when people look down their nose at others from their ivory towers.
What I think needs to happen is that whenever there is any type of large gathering like this that's taking place in the great state of New Jersey, we need to send the National Guard in to bring back law and order. We are a law and order state.
But aren't you all also a sanctuary state, Brian?
Not in West New York. We send people up the mountain, up the hill, and tell them, no, you need to go up to Union, New Jersey. That's where you're wanted.
Well, maybe Dumont. I've heard that is a place where there's just lawlessness afoot. I hear people block driveways without any consideration of their neighbors in Dumont. That's just what I hear. I hear things like that.
It's chaos. It's anarchy over there in that town. They need law and order. They need a law and order.
Dogs and cats living together.
Employee, correct. Yes. Union City, correct. You're correct.
Union City.
I got it.
One thing, speaking of sanctuary cities, which I did find funny, is there was, and I forget the exact state, but the White House came out against sanctuary city and sanctuary counties, and it listed this area in one particular state, which is like a heavily red state, heavily red county. And people were like, how is it this heavily red county is a sanctuary area? As it turns out, it's not a immigrant sanctuary city. Apparently, like 10 years ago, they announced that they were a Second Amendment sanctuary city. But seeing as how apparently the White House doesn't know how to effectively use Google, they just lumped this in with all of the other actual sanctuary cities out there.
They really are fucking stupid. They're so. You know what it is? It's a combination. It's such a dangerous combination to be stupid and lazy, because
and in power.
Yeah. Oh, that's the trifecta. My God, that is just embarrassing. That is just so embarrassing.
All right, I think we have time for one more story. This was one I know you wanted to get to. It's not a great story, but we will get to it nonetheless. It is about a retired architect that needed to go back to work after retiring. He's 80 years old. Is that how old he is? Mm-hmm. Brian, you love this story. Talk to us about what is going on here.
Listen, one of the things that, the American dream is to, work for enough years, save enough money that you can retire. You are no longer required to work. Utah resident Gary Sailing, no different. Recently turned 80. Was an architect, a former big shot architect in Utah. You were right, Ron. Maybe he did vote for what's the word? He did vote for the orange. Yeah, I think he did. If he lives in Utah, that's a heavily Republican state. Anyway, made his career as a big shot architect. Retired several years back. However, he was forced to go back into the workforce in December of 2020, about 6 months after the death of his wife, Carol, when she passed away with 2 forms of dementia, so that he could pay off the mounting medical bills. And a promise he had made to his dying wife left him broke. So he is now working 4 days a week at Smith's Market, which is a supermarket grocery store in St. George. If there's anything that we now can realize, do you have a photo you can put up of him?
I
Perfect, great.
just pulled it up there for you, my friend.
His spouse, who was an artist, she suffered for about 3.5 years. He promised himself, he promised her that he would never put her in a nursing home, that he'd keep her at home at all costs. However, his devotion to his wife and the at-home care costs resulted in a little bit over $80,000 of medical bills that they had incurred prior to her death. So far, he has paid off a little bit more than half of it. So he is now working as an 80-year-old bag packer in Utah. You were a fudge packer in college, but this man is a grocery bag packer. And this is, honestly, when you think about it, this is every middle-class American's worst nightmare, is that you spend your whole life acquiring whatever kind of income you can put together. You reach a point where you retire, and now you find yourself, due to the best of intentions, being forced to go back to work at an age where you're no longer physically suggested to do this. Just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think generations like ours and the generations younger than us, they would be happy to only have to spend $80,000 a year for medical care when they get older.
Sure.
I think it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. A local news station did start up a fundraiser for this gentleman, which has raised a little over $40,000. So he is hopeful, between what he has paid off and this money here, that he will hopefully be able to retire. Because I agree, at 80, I mean, if you want to work, that's one thing. Like, I can see, like, when I retire, I can see doing something part-time just to keep myself busy, but I won't want to. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's a way to monetize that, 5-10 years down the line.
OnlyFans.
But I don't want to have to work. Like, I would like to just be like, maybe I'll be a barista somewhere.
You can make Americanos. You can make your wife. Maybe, why don't you become a waffle maker?
I gotta get a better waffle iron, is what it comes down to.
Hope you can do it, my friend.
Well, anyway, folks, if you have not joined our Patreon, maybe let's send Gary a free month of the Patreon. The man clearly needs some entertainment.
I love that idea.
He probably can't afford the $10 to join After Dark Live. I mean, normally I would say it's up later than maybe he would be up, but he's in Utah. I think that's 3 hours earlier. So that would be like a 6:30 start time for him. I think that's perfect. But for those of you that would like to pay for our Patreon, I mean, they do have free subscriptions, but we're looking for folks to support the podcast, and we put the money right back into it. Go to RonandBrianPodcast.com. Go to cultofronandbrian.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a button to become a patron. You can join, and then we have some great swag that you can give out. But we also do an additional show after this. We'll do it at 9:30. We do After Dark. It's an additional half hour, the spicy stuff that doesn't always, gets us kicked off of YouTube from time to time. At the last Sunday of each month, we have our pajama party, where we invite our Patreon subscribers to join us. We do a trivia contest. It's good fun. Speaking of swag, I can't believe we almost forgot to mention this. We had shown our new stickers a few weeks back. Folks, what is the only thing better than stickers? Temporary tattoos. That's right. We've got our Cult of Ron and Brian temporary tattoos. They are available for you now. We will be getting them up on our web store in the next few days. But what's more fun than temporary tattoos, Brian?
Real ones. I've got two right here. I've
maybe
got
you
two
take
right
that
here on my arm. Ooh,
maybe you take that temporary tattoo and you go to your
Sure.
local tattoo artist and you say, you know what? Make this permanent. Put it on my taint. Put it on my chest, wherever you want it to be. This is a good way to test out where you want your Cult of Ron and Brian tattoo to be.
Now, Ron, you said that anybody that gets a Cult of Ron and Brian tattoo permanent, that person gets a free month of the gold level membership in the After Dark.
Yes, you get a permanent Cult of Ron and
So
Brian
generous.
tattoo. Location to be determined by you. We're not going to tell you where to put it. Like some of these people out there will say, "Oh, you got to get it on your forehead." That's not normal. Put it somewhere discreet if you need to, and then you just send us a photo of that, and we'll give you a free month of. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do it on your forehead, we'll give you 3 months free of gold. But otherwise,
You're just giving away this.
Other parts of the body. Listen, I'm champ. That's why the title belt's right there. I do what I want around here.
You did.
So anyway, Brian, I think we should wrap up this episode. It has been fantastic. I don't know about you, but I've loved this episode. Possibly
Another great
even
one.
more than the 356 that came before it.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, some days I wonder. So
We love
we're
it.
going to
We
get
love it.
ready. We're going to take
Yes, we
care of
are.
our Patreon folks. If you
Yes, we
log
are.
on to Patreon, you subscribe, we'll get to the link real quick. Brian, anything else before we wrap up this episode?
Listen, episode 357, one of my favorite.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining us. We will catch you again next week.
Thank you for joining us for the latest episode of The Cult of Ron and Brian. A non-tax deductible contribution can be made by subscribing to our Patreon. Visit cultofronandbrian.com and click on Become a Patron. We'll see you again next week.